History of Alexander Henderson. Contributed by K. Kiana Hopelind Mir 1. This history of Alexander Shillington Henderson was written by one of his granddaughters, Marie Oliver Winter. The original copy can be found at the Daughters of the Utah Pioneers in Salt Lake City. My grandfather, Alexander Shillington Henderson, was the sixth and youngest child of James and Jane Shilling Henderson. His paternal grandparents were Isaac and Jane Iskin Henderson. Those on his mother's side were James and Ellen Anderson Shillington. Grandfather was born October 31st, 1844, in Sairla, Try 1, Ireland. Other members of the family were Eliza, born 1831, Mary and born 1835, Thomas in 1837, James H. in 1841, and Mary 1842. Marian died young, but the others 5 grew to maturity. About 1848, my great-grandmother and Jane Henderson died, leaving her little family who needed her so much. Young Alex, as he was called, especially missed her. Great-grandfather had to have help with the children, so he courted and married Mary and Murphy. Sometimes it is hard to replace a mother in a family, and Alex began to dislike his stepmother. The tension in the home grew so tense that at the age of 8 he left home and went to live with his older brother Thomas. From this time on he worked in the coal mines. They later left Ireland and moved to Glasgow, Scotland. Grandfather had a lifelong dislike for the Irish, but he loved Scotland and its people. After he came to America, I think he just let people suppose he was born in Scotland, because his published obituary from Riverton gave his birthplace as Scotland. In Scotland, he continued to work in the coal mines. But he did work by contract. His brother Thomas was a weaver of fine Irish linen. It was sometime in 1858 when Mormon missionaries from America taught the true gospel of Jesus Christ to the Hendersons and converted them. Thomas and his wife were baptized early in 1859, grandfather a little later on. I don't know if James was baptized or not. From the time they became affiliated with this unpopular religion, their way of living changed. They were shunned by their friends, and work was harder to get. The spirit of gathering was upon them, and they started saving money to immigrate to America and to Utah. At the Church History Archives, it gives the sailing date for Thomas Henderson as May 30th, 1862, from Liverpool, England. We know that Alex and James came at the same time. However, they arrived in New York. James decided to stay there. While on the ocean, Tom's little son, Alexander, died and was buried at sea. Grandfather's sister Eliza married a man by the name of Turner who lived in Illinois. The records show that the Hendersons, Thomas, and Alexander made the trip across the plains to Utah in 1863, arriving in the valley of the Great Salt Lake in the fall. Alexander was about 18 years old at the time. See Perpetual Immigration Fund records. Immediately, grandfather sought out the coal mines in Utah for employment. Finally, he decided that it was not good for man to be alone, and he began looking for a nice girl to become his wife. He met and fell in love with Miss Hannah Taylor of Salt Lake City. They were married the 5th of July, 1870. He was 24 years old. They were very happy together. They were great fans of the Salt Lake Theater. When a large troupe from the East and abroad were going to put on a show, he appreciated the best and most cultured performance and attended these rather than the efforts of local talent. He was an aristocrat in dress as well as entertainment, proud as a peacock, one neighbor said of him. He had as many as 4 suits of cloths at one time. He dressed his wife Hannah in the most beautiful cloths obtainable. These also came from the East. Their first child, Alexander Taylor, was born the March 12, 1871. He lived only 12 days. Hannah never fully recovered in health from this birth. Grandfather bought a nicer home for her in Cottonwood and gave her the best loving care, but she died the 2nd of June, 1873. Heartbroken, he sold his home in Cottonwood and went back to the mines, coming in often to visit his mother-in-law and his wife's grave in the city cemetery. With the building of the canal from the point of the mountain to Riverton area, the water taken out the Jordan River at the Narrows, grandfather saw a chance to make himself considerable more money. He purchased a team of horses and equipment and went to work on the canal. He went to Nicholas T. Silcock, a farmer living in Riverton, to buy some hay and grain to feed his horses. As he paid for the feed, Nicholas Silcock was surprised at the large amount of money in this stranger's pocketbook. Indeed, he never seen so much money in his life. It was on one of his purchasing trips, grandfather chanced to meet lovely Miss Almira Silcock. However, she was on the lookout for him because she had previously been shown in a dream the man she was going to marry. They were married March 30th, 1874 in the endowment house in Salt Lake City. He had previously received his endowments in 1867. He purchased a tract of land joining the Silcock property in Riverton. Here he built a 3-room adobe house. When the Riverton ward was organized, he gave the land for the meeting house and also helped to build it. To show that he built well, both of these buildings are still standing today in a good state of preservation. Grandpa was pleased when their first child was born, Alice Sarah, February 4th, 1875. The Hannah Jane, February 13th, 1876. He was somewhat disappointed when my mother Rosa was born June 13th, 1878. He did so want a boy. So when George Alexander came on the 29th of January, 1880, his joy knew no bounds. In these early days of the church, plural marriage was being practiced and preached by the authorities. Grandpa desired to take another wife, so with Grandma's consent he married Minnie Sorensen, October 16, 1876. From all I have heard, both wives lived very harmoniously together as a family unit. Each wife was just another mother to the other's children. Grandpa was a kind, peace-loving man himself. He showed great love and understanding to all his children alike. He was a strict but wise disciplinarian. All his children and grandchildren loved and respected him very much. About 1881, grandfather moved to the 5th Ward in Salt Lake City. Here he built his own house, and both of the wives lived in the same house for the first and only time. All through these years, both were having children about the same time. Grandma gave birth to Harriet, March 7, 1882. Nicholas Thomas was born July 4, 1883. James Mormon was born December 8, 1884. His wife Minnie Sophia, August 19, 1877. Annie, August 2, 1878. Juliet, February 11, 1880. Eliza Jane, July 3, 1881. William Edward, September 29, 1882. Henry Ether, December 14, 1883. Elizabeth Mary, February 17, 1885. Emma, May 6, 1887. Margaret M., December 6, 1888. Orson, February 5, 1890. Clara, February 29, 1892. Edna, August 27, 1894. Parley Cecil, April 8, 1896. Orrin Millard, December 14, 1897. Clarence, February 3, 1901. 9 of these children from both families died by 1898. His wife Almira moved to the 3rd Ward on State Street, and wife Minnie moved to Little Cottonwood. Then he built a large 2-story house in Farmers Ward, about 13th South and 17th Street, where both families lived, very closely associated with each other. Then in 1885, the U.S. government was cracking down on those men who had more than one wife. The local U.S. Marshals were, on the most part, Mormon haters and delighted in seeking these men and putting them in jail, under the cohabitation law, if they were caught. True, press. Wilford Woodruff had been directed to issue the manifesto, making it unlawful for men to take more than one wife. The church authorities instructed their men not to take any more wives, but to take care of the ones they already had as well as possible. Grandfather had taken Aunt Minnie in good faith, and certainly she and her children were his responsibility. It was noised around that Aunt Minnie and her children had gone to St. George to live. But she went to Riverton and lived with Auntie B.B., great-grandfather Silcock's second wife. Here Grandpa secretly looked after their wants. Later Grandpa built her a nice brick home in Riverton. Eventually, with his growing family, Grandpa decided he had to have more land, so he sold his property in the farmer's ward in Salt Lake City at a sacrifice and bought a farm in Granger. Here Heber Charles was born October 10, 1886, Hiram Edgar, June 11, 1889, and Ella Almira, March 10, 1892. He built a nice frame house for his family in Granger. Then he later bought more land joining his farm on the west. This farm had a hewn log house on it to which he made a sizable addition, which housed his large family comfortably. He raised good crops and had all kinds of livestock on the farm. He was a great lover of horses and owned some fine animals. It might be interesting to relate a little experience Grandfather had on an occasion. He was coming from Riverton to Granger one evening when suddenly, out of nowhere, a man appeared by his wagon and asked for a ride, also for night's lodging. Grandfather didn't dare take him home, because at this time he was being watched by the U.S. Marshals. He didn't know but what the stranger could be one of these. However, when he let the man from his wagon, he immediately and completely disappeared. This troubled Grandpa. He always thought he had been privileged to associate that short time with one of the three Nephites. On another occasion, while he and Grandma were visiting Aunt Minnie and family in Riverton, he became very ill and requested all his children to come so he could bid them goodbye, as he knew he was going to die. Shortly he seemed to have passed away. His family was all crying in deep grief when he opened his eyes and said, "I've come back." He told them afterward that he could see his body lying on the bed and all of them crying, and it seemed that some great power brought him back. In the spring of 1892, Grandpa bought a farm in Riverton or South Jordan and moved Grandma and her family there. Her Alma John was born October 11, 1894. Twins, Harvey and Earl, were born April 23, 1896. Grandpa and his boys worked harmoniously together. He was always considerate of their opinions. He believed that they should have time off for pleasures and a reward for work well done on the farm. Uncle Clarence recently related how his father taught him early in life how to plow a straight furrow in the field. To select a goal ahead and plow straight for it, never look back, but always forward and straight ahead. He taught his children the value of money by letting them select and pay for their own clothes. He believed in buying good clothing and shoes. He had a cobbling outfit and repaired the family's shoes. His daughters were very special to him too. In fact, it could be said that he spoiled his little daughter Ella. He used to wash and dress her each morning. One morning he wanted to get an early start to Bingham and went out without dressing her. She screamed so loud when her sister Rosa tried to dress her that her father stopped the horses, got down off the wagon and came back into the house and dressed her. A friend, Ole Peterson, persuaded Grandpa to market his farm, garden and dairy products in Bingham as he did. It was soon found that he did get much better cash returns to peddle his produce at the mines. So Grandpa continued this employment for years. Grandma became seriously ill and died November 29, 1896 at the age of 38. She most likely died of appendicitis. See Come After Us by Melvin Banner, page 403 to 404 for more of the story. This was a hard blow to the family. Grandfather was inconsolable. He closed her bedroom and wouldn't let anyone go in there, thought they needed the room badly. It gave the children a strange feeling of death. Of course, dear Aunt Minnie brought her 9 children and moved right in to take care of Grandma's 11. The twins were just babies. It made 20 children for her to supervise and mother. In Jan of 1898, an epidemic of black measles hit the town. The twins and Aunt Minnie's little Parley all died at the same time. Time moved along and Aunt Minnie died in 1901. Again, Grandpa needed a mother for his children. He met a fine widow woman, Trina Christensen, as he went about his work securing produce. She lived in Pleasant Grove. He presented his domestic problems to her in such a way that she was willing to marry him and help out the children yet at home. Their marriage date was February 12, 1902, the same as my mother and father's, Rosa Henderson and Edwin Oliver. I remember grandfather as a good, kind man. He was very tender-hearted. His bushy, curly hair of his younger years was thin and gray. He was quite hard of hearing, and we had to speak real loud in order for him to hear us. He didn't take a very active part in church affairs. His religion was not the church-going kind. He was very generous to his fellow men in need. He never turned anyone away from his door whom he could help. He taught his children honesty, industry, and kindness, and many attributes pertaining to a good life. As a granddaughter, I feel very proud to be numbered among his descendants. He died February 8, 1917 at his home in Riverton at the age of 73 years.